Hi, I'm Shane. Crawling the Hume is an event that happens every 2 years and it brings truck drivers together, both past and present. I was fortunate enough to meet some of these blokes and have a look at their restored trucks. As you will see, their characters are almost as colourful as their vehicles. Well, we're here in Winton, Victoria today. The sun's out, the trucks are about, and we've been lucky enough to catch up with event organiser Robert French. Robert, welcome.
Oh, thank you very much.
So Robert, for those of us that don't know, what is Crawling the Hume?
Crawling the Hume has tried to run a reenactment of the old trucks, which are 30 years old or older, to run on the old Hume Highway. And people that have restored trucks, they can relive their dream about what happened on the Hume Highway. So that's the whole idea, of to run from Campbellfield up to Albury with the stop at Winton, which we're at now.
So mate, how did it all start?
Well, it all started by hauling the Hume up in Sydney, and they started hauling the Hume, and they were going to have about 5 trucks run down the old Hume Highway to Yass. It got out of hand and it ended up about 100 trucks, and they did that, and I went on that. I drove up in my truck to Sydney, drove back. We went to Yass, to the Servicemen's Club, and they decided that, and after a few beers, I put my hand up and said, I'm going to do one of these in Victoria, but I always thought about doing it. And Roger Marchetti was there, and he said, look, I'll give you a hand with that. And Peter Rowland said, look, I've got the map already to put out that, and then it just grew and grew and grew. And so we actually copied Hauling the Hume, and they help us. As you can see, they've lent us the van to give us the registrations and all that, and we do all the same stuff with the procedure.
You must be pretty happy with the strong showing of support and the quality of gear that we're seeing rolled up.
Oh yeah, extremely happy. I'm happy with the people that put their hand up to give us, to volunteer to do all the marshalling and whatever. They just come out the woodwork, and without the volunteers you wouldn't be able to do anything. I'm happy with all the trucks that have turned up. They gave it a great support, and it's just getting bigger and bigger and bigger.
The transport industry itself, it's changed quite a bit over the years. Do you think with the advancement of the roads and technology, has it somewhat diluted the skill set of the modern day driver?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, to drive Melbourne to Sydney on that old road, it's a 3-hour drive to Albury. It'll take us, 6 hours. And, the skills of driving now, that freeway's flat out, everyone's got 600 horsepower, put on cruise control, 100 kilometres an hour. Most of the time, some of the old days when they were really loaded, they'd be down to, to 5 miles an hour, with that, and go all night. But yeah, so yeah, there's not the skill set now, that is for sure.
We caught up with Norm here today, and we're standing in front of his gold Nugget SAR. Norm, can you tell us a little bit about it, mate?
Yeah, she's a 85 SAR gold Nugget. I brought it off Kloss Brothers in Geelong. They restored it. It's all done up in the Ian Alley's colours, their scheme. And she's got a Series 60 Detroit in it, 18 speed and airbag, and all the bling on it that you can get. So
steering one of these back in the 80s, you would have been the ants pants of the highway.
Oh yeah, these things were race trucks. They were going up and down the road, so yeah, it would have been good to drive them when they were new. We grew up in Wallen, that's where we grew up, and so it's on the old highway, and yeah, I didn't do any interstate work, but we've done a lot of Melbourne stuff. We've got earth moving business and trucks and tippers and all that sort of stuff. So, but grew up on the side of the highway, just watching trucks going up and down the road, and yeah, loved the sound of them and all of that. So.
Definitely a passion of yours. Is that what made you purchase this immaculate gear?
Oh yeah, when these things were brand new, we'd go and have a look at them at the truck stop, and they were the best trucks to get on the road then. So, but yeah, it's just one of the, and SARs. Our first Kenworth was an SAR, so got a thing about SARs. So.
Well, today's the perfect chance to show it off. You must be pretty proud standing in front of it.
Yeah, no, it is, and we go to heaps of truck shows with it, and everyone loves it. Gets plenty of photos and stuff in it, and it's just a cool truck to drive. Like go through the main street of the town there, and everyone's taking photos of it and stuff, and yeah, it's just.
Well, mate, I can see you got a lineup of admirers back there, so I'll let you go and attend to them, eh?
No
Thanks
worries.
very much for coming on, and enjoy the day. We've managed to track down John, the proud owner of this International R200. John, how did you get involved with Crawling the Hume?
I've been a member of the historic club and the American Iron as well, both clubs.
And being an ex-driver yourself, you know the old Hume Highway only too well?
Yeah, pretty well, yep.
And who did you drive for, and what sort of work did you do?
Stock for a start, Stan Miller, and then later on for a mob in Melbourne, Australian Cargo Enterprises, doing a bit of interstate. And then I bought my own, and that was it then.
And this old girl, she was flash gear in its day. Can you tell us a little bit about the restoration process?
Well, believe it or not, the cabin was in a shed at a bloke's place for 50 years. And I got hold of that, and then I bought another one, complete trucker for Guy at Cobram, and then picked the best of it all out and put it all together like that.
And how long did that take you?
3 years.
3 years, that was an arduous process, I can only imagine.
Chasing a lot of stuff up, like proper front axle and that sort of thing, to make everything right.
Today's just a great time to get out with old mates and catch up and talk about the old times.
Yep, already run into a bloke at back at Benalla I hadn't seen for probably 10 years.
We're standing in front of these two beautiful diamond tees with the proud owner, George, here. George, can you tell us a little bit about them?
Yes, a lovely truck. I drove this model when they were new. It was about 100 came into the country. The one right behind us is 1960 and the one in front is 1959. And they were the pride of the Hume Highway, honestly.
So you were running up and down the Hume Highway in one of these old girls?
When I was 18, I was driving interstate, and I'm 81 now.
You're going all right for 81, you're doing well. But tell us a little bit about the restoration process. How long did that take you?
Well, that one there, no one had restored one of these, and because there were only probably about 100 came into the country, and everyone said I wouldn't get the parts. And I started off with a truck that had one mudguard, no motor, no bonnet, no grille, no gearbox, and a lot of rust. And there it is, finished, and they couldn't believe it. So everyone went searching for them. They found about 12, right? So I was the one that started it off, you know.
It's definitely a labour of love.
Oh yes, yeah. It took 2 years to do this. Yeah, that one there, yeah.
2 years, and you tell me off camera you've got a third one as well.
I have, yeah. It's a 531. It's a smaller model than this, but it looks just as good. Yeah.
Looks just
as Cousins transport on it.
Oh, okay. So back in the day, what sort of work were you doing up and down the Hume Highway?
Well, I mainly I worked for Unilevers. I drove one of these with a Lux packet on the door for Alan Hancock, and I used to cart factory to factory out of Melbourne to Sydney and vice versa, right? And I did that for quite a number of years. And then I left and I went driving for Ansett Pioneer, and I drove Ansett Pioneer Express coaches for a number of years, right? And these days I own a fleet of taxis and limousines. I still work, and I enjoy the trucks.
Yeah, I'm sure you do. So when you started out 18, the Hume Highway, was it a 2-day trip back then?
Was it ever? It was 5.5 hours slogging from Wodonga to Melbourne, and they do it in 3 hours now, you know, and it was hard work, really hard work.
Yeah.
No power steering, nothing like that, underpowered, and no brakes. The brakes were terrible, you know, honest.
So you're hanging on to the old girls, 18-year-old.
Yeah.
I'm sure you are the envy of the highway.
Yeah. And the truck up the front there, the Kenworth, that's 450 horsepower, got power steering, it's got air conditioning, and it goes like a racing car, right? And it's so easy to drive, so I decided that's the best way to cart them around rather than try and drive them.
Yeah, and certainly when you get a bit tired, somewhere to lie down also.
Exactly, yeah.
All right, George, thanks very much for chatting to us on White Line.
A pleasure.
Enjoy the day, mate. Cheers.
Thank you, cheers.
Well, I've had this truck since late 60s. Used to use it every night till about 86, and then parked it. Retired in 2000, built this house on the back of it, and we've done about 250,000 kilometres since then. It's been fitted with 471T Detroit, MT653 Allison, automatic, and has a 3-speed auxiliary box behind the Allison, 411 diffs. 1750 revs is 100 kilometres an hour, and it does about 10 miles to the gallon.
Now, the first Kenworths here in Australia was the S model. A lot of people mistake them for an SAR.
They do, all the time. Everyone asks, says, how's SAR going? And we've got to correct them. And they do look at you a bit strange until they notice that the bonnet is a lot shorter. And they mistake the S2, which is a flat bonnet, for this one. But when I got into this, I thought I was the truck driver in Australia. After driving Leylands and Bedfords and Austins and Fords, this was something.
So I'm sure both yourself and the old girl got a few stories up your sleeve.
Yeah, it's best we don't talk too many about them. Like, especially speed.
Yeah, we won't go into that one.
No, I wouldn't think so. No, it's I used to cart explosives to Kakadu in it, from Sydney to Kakadu to the mine, and I dare say we've carted everything else, just about, except people. Oh, we're doing that now.
Yeah, well, she's been around the block a few times. Nowadays, it's just parked up, a lady of leisure.
Yes, we just use it now to come to shows like this, or go and visit a few friends in different places, but very easy life now to what it was used to.
Good on you, Harry. Thanks very much for catching up with us, and go and enjoy the day, mate. Have a cold one at the end of it.
No, I don't use that, but I'll enjoy the day anyway.
Well, we've managed to track down Bruce from Crawlin The Hume, the instigator of it all. Mate, where did all that start, and how long ago have you been doing it?
Hey mate, yeah, well it started off with my dad a few years ago. We were heading to Alice Springs for a show. We were driving the old comma here across that we just finished restoring, and Dad was saying that he'd love to do a run up the old road before he kicked the bucket. And I just said, well, when you get back, we need to organise that. And so the old man had a turn when we were out at Alice Springs, and on the way home I thought, I'm definitely going to organise something. And he came good, and and we ended up organising this run. Spoke to a couple of guys about it who said, no, we know the old road fairly well, and there was a fair bit of old road that we could use, and that was basically how it was born, and it sort of blew out of control a bit.
So the old comma we're standing in front of, that goes hand in hand with the old Hume Highway. Can you tell me a little bit about the restoration process?
Yeah, sure. Well, Dad drove one of these back in the 50s, and so I've always had an interest in trucks and used to look at all the old black and white photos, and then the time came, much to my wife's disgust, that I decided to get a truck and restore it, and I wanted one of these. So after a lot of hunting, I found it. It's painted in the same colours as Dad's, and that was basically what kicked it all off. You know, all my mates thought that I was mad, but as you can see now, it's quite a big following there with the old vehicles. And I wasn't the first one to do it, but it's certainly been a vehicle that puts a smile on everybody's face. It's a nice old girl.
So the next Crawlin The Hume, when can we expect that?
That'll be, it's actually April next year, April Fool's Day, on the Saturday, and we do the run. We leave Sydney, we leave Clarendon in Sydney, which is sort of out near Windsor area, and we travel down the Northern Road to Camden, and then follow the old road down from there, and we stop at Goulburn for lunch, similar format to what's done here, and then we have a dinner down at Yass on the Saturday night.
Thanks very much for talking with us on White Line TV, and enjoy the day, mate. Thanks.
No worries, it's been a pleasure.